Okay, so moving on to our wonderful keynote speaker who has traveled all the way from the Ukraine. So this evening we are joined by Andriy Klepikov. I hope I got that right. I'm not the only one with a complicated name here tonight. So let's all just give each other permission to make mistakes, okay? And besides, there's plenty of Irish names that are quite perplexing at most of the times. So Andriy is the executive director of the Alliance for Public Health in Ukraine, one of the largest HIV and TB-focused NGOs in the country and in the region. And being the founding director, he's currently managing the organization with over 100 staff, implementing a complex and comprehensive HIV prevention, treatment, and care program, as well as other programs aimed at fighting TB, HCV, and more recently, COVID-19. Andriy is a passionate HIV activist and is an elected member of the developing country NGO delegation to the board of the Global Fund in the fight of AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. So please give Andriy a big, warm Irish welcome as he takes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is really a privilege to be here at the World AIDS Day here in Dublin. And here at this event, it's a learning event for me. I learned also the legacy, amazing legacy of Father Michael Kelly. And for me, it's also opportunity to share and to reflect how we address HIV in the situation which much more challenging than in the normal life. At the time of the war, Russian war against Ukraine, which started nearly 9 months ago. So I'm here to share these reflections. And I would like to start with deep thanking from the bottom of my heart to people of Ireland, to the government of Ireland for the great support to Ukraine. Because when we facing difficult times, it is critical to see who are true allies and true supporters. At the personal level, but also at the country level, at the people's level. And the amazing and very critical support to Ukraine, both with humanitarian aid, financial support, also hosting nearly 70,000 Ukrainian war refugees here. This is very, very much appreciated. I also appreciate particular institutions and organizations supporting us in Ukraine, with significant role of Irish aid. Also, even my organization receiving funding through the pooled mechanism called Irish Emergency Alliance, putting funding into Christian aid, and then we received it for humanitarian support. I'm also happy that this is opportunity to meet also very good friends like Nadine France, and thank you for amazing work Irish Global Health Network is doing. So it's not just occasionally that I'm here from Ukraine. There are a lot of appreciations and a lot of support behind this. I would like to start my reflections with recollecting the first day of war. It was 4 a.m. at the morning when we woke up with the sound of bombing. 24th of February this year. And since that time, life of all Ukrainians changed. And of course, life of HIV positive people changed. People with TB and vulnerable people as well. I remember a conversation with Victoria, who was diagnosed with HIV just 10 days before war started. And when the war started, she was based in a Kiev suburb. Maybe you heard that this is a place for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Russian army in Irpin, in Bucha, where hundreds and thousands, actually, civilians were tortured and killed. So she was lucky, she escaped. It was very narrow escape from there, but her words that she told, I don't know what killed me first, HIV or Russian missiles and Russian bombs. So it is very challenging, and some of them, unfortunately, were killed, like patients with TB in Bucha were tortured and killed, and people with HIV in eastern part of Ukraine. So this war demonstrates that those people who are vulnerable in normal life became much more vulnerable in the time of the war. So vulnerability just increasing. War doesn't bring any good things, only suffering and worsening the situation. When the war started, there were predictions about outbreaks in HIV epidemic and in TB epidemic. It didn't happen, but it didn't happen not just occasionally. It didn't happen because so much efforts were put to put epidemic under control, even in the circumstances of the war. My organization is one of the largest in Ukraine. We used to serve over 200,000 people who use drugs, sex workers, men having sex with men, trans people. And when the war started, initially, of course, it was shock, and it took at least a week to get back on track mentally and organizationally. But we managed to reconnect really nearly with all patients, not allowing people to get lost. Of course, with some losses in cities like Mariupol, which called Ukrainian Aleppo, destroyed by Russian bombing by 90%. And it was a town of for 5,000 people living with HIV. We still lost track with majority of these people. And unfortunately, many of them might be not alive anymore. But nearly from the first days of war, we mobilized ourselves with modification of our support, being more mobile, reaching people with mobile clinics or mobile ambulances on the territories. Medical infrastructure is not functioning. And this is very interesting because if you appear at the situation where hospitals are destroyed, there are no medical infrastructure, civil society and community stepped in with outreach to provide lively essential services to people the most in need. So it's actually demonstrated that it's not the walls and not buildings and even not equipment which might be called the core of the whole health system. It's people, and it's medical professionals, but also it's civil society and community workers. Example includes taking risks, because I can share example when logistic company initially subcontracted by the government to deliver medications all over the country, declined to commit the commitment. They said it's just too risky for our drivers to go in the territories where the shelling is happening. Sorry, we would not do this. So my organization, Alliance for Public Health, stepped in and helped to deliver methadone. This is a medication for patients on opioid agonist treatment. So no interruption was done. Or in some cases, when the medical factory was burned after the bombing, so we did emergency procurement. So it demonstrated value of civil society and communities stepping in the most difficult circumstances. When others say no, we say yes. And we are stepping in and doing the job. Another lesson to share, we have to be prepared to do more than we are doing. We never consider ourselves as a humanitarian organization. Now, I think most of our work is a humanitarian one. Since the first days of the war, we opened another office in Lviv, in Western Ukraine, which was used for multiple purposes. As an office, as a shelter, as a hotline, as storage. I literally lived in the office. I was there 24/7, and it means also commitment to respond to any need by 24/7. I remember the situation when in a very short space, every square meter was filled with mattresses, and even we hosted refugees with dogs and cats just put in different places. So literally there was no space on the floor. But this attitude actually, it is very important, not to say, oh, it's not our business, or we are not prepared to do this. So actually a reminder of the war to all of us is readiness to do more and readiness to respond. Because even in our HIV work, we used to use this expression, person-centered approach, or people-centered approach. But we need to be consistent, and if a person needs warm clothes, we need to find a way to provide it. If someone wants to eat, we need to provide it. We need to find a way. So in the time of crisis, it's difficult to say no. Or if someone knocking on your door, you should open. So at the time of humanitarian crisis, if someone comes and asks for bread, for food, you cannot say, sorry, I have only condom for you. Yeah, we need to be relevant to people's needs. And it is important to find resources for this. That's what we are struggling, because being on the ground, you are fully engaged, you fully understand the needs. But some donors say, sorry, we are giving money to you, but this money is for AIDS, or this money is for TB. Really, I appreciate some donors, including the Global Fund, offered this flexibility and saying, okay, if you need to evacuate people, do this. Or if you need to provide basic support for winterization, well, there are not so much money, but at least for the basics, try to do this. So Christian aid is also very important in providing humanitarian support. So this is another lesson, to be responsive to the needs and not to be slow in this, because maybe it's the only one good thing war taught us, to be quick. because there is a cost of inaction or cost of slow action. And this cost is measured in human lives. So with slow response, we actually allowing people to die. So that's why some decisions which earlier took us years or months to take, now we are taking in days. And I'm talking including the government, bureaucracy is everywhere. So, but with such attitude in the war context, we managed to speed up all lively essential processes. It is essential also to modify the services and to have it relevant to people with the mobility. When your clients are mobile, services cannot be statical. And we have 15 million people on the move within Ukraine and out of Ukraine. So it is critical for this mobility to use, to reach people there where they are. Another thing is digitalization. Now everybody has smartphones, and we use smartphones also to know where is air raid attack coming, because there are notifications and Telegram channels. We use also to connect with family members, so everybody using smartphones. So there are some chatbots which allow people to connect with their doctors. Another big thing is to address the needs of people with HIV in all circumstances. So uninterrupted treatment provision, that's what we achieved with also international support. It's also additional things like mental health issues. In the time of the war, every Ukrainian requires mental health support. Everyone. It's only a matter to larger or smaller extent. We also facing some traumas working with the people on occupied territories. Some of them faced violence, rape, killing of their family members. So now working on the occupied territories like cities of Kherson on the south actually is critical in getting support and getting people back on track. It's important also to not to lose human dimension, because we're all humans, and it's important to be responsive to human needs. And sometimes it's beyond medical advice. It's more like maybe it's one of the legacy of Father Michael Kelly, to be human every time, in every situation, in every action. War is going on, and for us, support, including support from Ireland, is getting more critical, because we are approaching winter, we are approaching power cuts, we are approaching cut in heating and water supply. So my call is really, please keep supporting us in such incredibly difficult circumstances. And we will win. We have no alternative, because this is the war not against Ukraine or not against our territorial integrity. This is a war against principles of freedom, civilized coexistence, war against dignity. And Russian army can destroy buildings with missiles, Russian military can kill civilian, and they are killing civilian people, but they cannot kill values. Values of our common existence, of principles of freedom, respect, and dignity, and civilized coexistence. So with this in mind, I am absolutely sure that together and only together we will win. We have no other alternative. We will win. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Wow. Okay. We're all going to form an orderly line, and then we're all going to hug Andriy. Okay? Because I think some people know me as an activist and a journalist, but I'm a psychotherapist now. I'm a fully qualified psychotherapist, and when I see, hearing you speak, it's just, I can speak for all of us that we were all just moved. Okay, keep it together, keep it together. Because I keep thinking, you know, and my kids talk about, you know, the likes of Marvel superheroes, but you're a superhero, you know, because as you said, yeah. As said, when the government said we couldn't help, it was civil society and organizations like yourself that stepped into the front line 24/7 and continued the battle against HIV and AIDS. Okay.